What's up, Pokemon fans? Today I want to talk about the top 10 areas Pokemon Scarlet and Violet failed. Now, I love Scarlet and Violet. I thought it was an amazing game. Actually, if you saw one of my most recent videos, you'll see that I thought it was the best Pokemon game ever. But we all got room for improvement, team. Trust me, I'll look back at one of my videos and say, that sucked. I don't know why I did that. Well, that didn't make any sense. So it works the same with Pokemon games. Alright, let's get into it. Number 10, Ice types. Where are the ice types? Now, I know there's ice types in the game, but there's hardly any access to ice types early on. Now, I'll admit, this is more of a personal grievance than something that's really wrong with the game, because I just love ice types. I don't know why, but those icy homies always seem to be able to worm their way into my heart. And in Scarlet and Violet, the only way to get ice types early is by hunting down an elusive ice stone and using it on an Eevee, hello Glaceon, or trading for a Snow. If you actually go to the ice region and look for an ice type, they're all like level 36 or above, so they're not Pokemon that you can start your journey with. You're more than halfway through before you can really start adding ice types to your team, so lack of ice types early was a disappointment for me. Number 9, the map. I'm convinced that the map was the secret villain of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It was just awful. This was Pokemon's first attempt at an open world game, and it went very well, but when you're navigating an open world, it really helps to be able to use the map, and it's just not good in this game. Tell me you haven't had this issue where you've zoomed in or out on a location on the map, and you try and see it at a larger or closer up view, and bam! The map resets, you've lost where you want it to go, and you have to restart navigation attempts. It's not necessarily that the map looks bad or anything, but the fact that you can't seamlessly zoom in and out is pretty frustrating and something that definitely needs to be fixed in future games. Number 8, Nemona's starter. Even though Pokemon has come a long way, sometimes I find myself dreaming of simpler times like in Red and Blue, where my rival would pick a starter that had the type advantage against me and would look to destroy me throughout the journey. As opposed to picking one that I would dominate with my starter for the duration of the playthrough. I get you're being nice to Mona, but come on, there's no way you think your Skeledirge is going to hold up against my Quaquaval. Quavel? I really don't know how to pronounce the duck's name, but Nemona's Skeledirge ain't beating it. It's just not happening. Especially when I know you're terastallizing into a fire type in every single battle. Pokemon games are generally not that difficult to begin with, so it would be great to see the rival make the choice at the start of the game that made the journey just a little bit more challenging. Number 7, the Elite Four. We can do better in a lot of different ways. I know the Elite Four isn't the climax of this game necessarily, but it's always a really special moment, and it under-delivered in Scarlet and Violet. First off, it's an easy Elite Four in terms of difficulty. Why not give the Elite Four items for their Pokemon? They're supposed to be some of the strongest trainers in the region, and they don't get to use items? There's a trainer right near the beginning of the game, I can't remember his name, but he calls himself MattyB. He has a Skiddo with leftovers. Why does this gentleman get to use an item and the Elite Four doesn't get anything? It doesn't make any sense to me. I say this respectfully to the man in the suit. I'm okay with him having an item. He is mighty after all, and well-dressed. Congratulations on that. But the Elite Four deserves to be something that you fear, a group that consists of some of the best trainers around, but they're pretty easy, and they're handcuffed by the fact that they don't get to use items. Also, the setting for the Elite Four is quite dull. The rooms with glass paneling doesn't do it for me. Some themes would be nice to match each trainer, or at least something to make it unique. It kind of seems like we just got a little lazy at the end of the game here. It's capped by Gita, who is ultra weak to Fire-type Pokemon, and in my opinion is one of the weakest champions ever in a Pokemon game. Larry and Hassel probably have better teams, quite frankly, so I'm not sure why Gita is even champion. Number 6, online battling. Now this is really more of a general concern than something specifically for Scarlet and Violet, but we should really be at the point where you can log onto the battle stadium and pick the Pokemon that you want to use, and the EV IVs needed for optimization. Why should you need to have ultra rare Pokemon in your box and at your disposal at all times? I also don't really want to go spend time hunting down the perfect IVs or beating up like 50 Shinxes to get my attack stat maxed out. Just let me log on and pick the Pokemon that I want to use. It's hard to criticize Scarlet and Violet for this because they've made it even easier for online battles than other Pokemon games, but there's another step to take, and I hope they're able to do it in the next generation. Number 5, catching mechanics. Legends Arceus was just released and had a more dynamic way of catching Pokemon. Then they went backwards in Scarlet and Violet, Now, I don't know, maybe more Pokemon fans than I realize prefer the method of catching where you go into battle, weaken the Pokemon, throw the ball, and capture, but I definitely prefer the sneaking and skulking aspect of Legends Arceus when it came to catching. You could lure a Pokemon with food, throw the ball. It was a fun way to catch them on. Number 4, Auto Battle. It's not like I disliked the Auto Battle feature, which was newly introduced in Scarlet and Violet. I thought it was a nice addition to the game, but the animation for the Auto Battle feature is the same for every Pokemon. If it's too much to ask for a unique battle animation for each individual Mon, then I'd love to see at least a fire animation for the fire types or a rock animation for the rock types, something like that, instead of just the generic cloud of smoke with a couple musical notes flying around. Didn't add a lot for me and didn't inspire me to send my Pokemon out for auto battles. I basically only used the feature to grab a quick level every now and then before a battle. Not a bad feature, but I'd like to see a little more. Number 3, Text for Days. This is another one that isn't exactly specific to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm sure some of you have had a moment where you're mashing the A button to get through a wall of text, and there's a lot of dialogue in this game. They could really enhance the storylines if they had voice acting. It's really time to make the transition at this point, or even just cut down the dialogue at certain points. I actually like the storylines in this game. Arven's was absolutely top tier, but can you imagine how powerful the scene where Mabastiff is restored to full health would be with voice acting, or a battle with an Elite Four member where they're boasting about their strength if you actually heard the words? I'd just love to see a little less flood of text from what we saw in Scarlet and Violet. Number 2, Gym Battle Hype. Scarlet and Violet crushed Sword and Shield in my opinion, but one area Sword and Shield won the day was the theatrics around the gym battles. I mean, my goodness, the stadiums with the fans cheering, it approached epic levels in Sword and Shield and definitely brought the level of excitement to another level in those big battles. We go to Scarlet and Violet and okay, there's Grandma Judy and our buddy Jimmy, but wow. The scale for the battle scene took an enormous leap backwards. Maybe it just comes from wanting to do something different. Maybe they didn't want to do the stadiums again, but there has to be something better than this. There were a lot better ways to make the battles feel epic than having Grandma Judy and Buddy Jimmy as the spectators. Number 1, glitches and bugs. It's kind of the elephant in the room. There was no bigger problem in Scarlet and Violet than the bugs and the glitches in the game. For me, it didn't take away from my enjoyment in playing the game, but I certainly wouldn't blame you if you didn't feel the same way. There were just so many of them. The ride Pokemon glitching out, the eroding solid land that looks like quicksand but isn't supposed to be quicksand. The frame drops were really noticeable. The game simply wasn't ready to be released when it was. If they had fixed the issues before it was released, I'm sure even more people would join me in saying that this was the best Pokemon game they ever made. But some are going to hold the kind of issues that existed here against the game, and I can't really argue against that. So yeah, there's room to get better. Overall, I did think Scarlet and Violet was a fantastic game, but yeah, they can work on some things for future generations, and let me know if I missed anything, and I'll see you on the next one.